So that goes there. Okay, and this I'm going to take down here. Right. That goes there. And then it goes there. Okay, we're in business. I wasn't watching the countdown there, Reggie. We are live. It's 1 minute to 1, so we'll be kicking off in a few minutes. Okay, and let's connect in up here. 12:59. Okay, so we start in 1 minute.
Yep, and I see it on LinkedIn. We are live.
Oh, good. Good. Events. Live. Yes, we are. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's great. Okay.
And the notification went out. The notification popped up that said that join Paul Smith live.
Okay, great. Okay, it's 1 o'clock. Welcome everybody. It's to the Sustac Plans Chat Club. We talk about AI innovation and ethics every week. I've got Reggie Johnson all the way from Texas. Reggie, and myself, PR Smith. Call me Paul. Lovely to see you, Dr. Samar. And Brian Tumsweji, excuse me if I've mispronounced that, from Kampala. Had a great trip to Uganda last year. Monday, Sussman, good morning to you. City of Johannesburg, Joburg, lovely Joburg. My daughter's over there at the moment. Oh, Wayne, good old Wayne's made it. I know you're stuck in traffic, so it's great to see Wayne. Dr. Jim Hamill, we're honored to have. I'll be talking about some of your stuff today, Jim. I'll mention that later on. And myself and Reggie. There'll be other people joining in, and there will be other people watching this later on after the event. But as always, we start off our music or our event with a little piece of undiscovered music. I feel Ukraine has been forgotten about despite the Gaza disasters and all the rest that's going on in the world. So we'll play with this beautiful tune by Tim Hain. And then we'll kick off in 1 minute from now.
Half of me is in Kiev. Half of me on a train with my daughter, fleeing from the tanks and bombs. Daddy stays to fight the oppressor. This train rumbles into one more station where the desperate are trying to climb on board. This train is rammed with refugees, and the conductor won't unlock the doors. And there's no more room on this train. No more room for no more.
Okay, that's Tim Hain, wonderful local musician. And he played with Jeff Beck, would you believe it, many years ago. Talented local musician, and one of his many songs, and a beautiful video. We'll put the link, as we do, put everything we talk about, links to everything we talk about on prsmith.org/AI-topics. And Reggie, you'll squirt that up on the message area so people can get that down. We'll mention it a couple of times. Okay, we've got a busy session today. We're going to be talking about AI might take over the world. These are words from the AI godfather, Geoffrey Hinton. We'll also be looking at ChatGPT beginning to lie to its own developers. And continuing this theme, we've got ChatGPT creating posts attributed to news organizations. So that's really dangerous fake news. We've got a question then raised about does this compete with big tech breaking Asimov's 3 laws? Just to put it into context, we'll just run through that. We have been talking about parents wishing what wishes they'd have before they give a smartphone to their teens. So this is more safety, AI safety stuff. We'll have a brief word about that again, continuing from last week. Also, AI knows you and helps you. So we like to be positive about AI as well. And we're going to finish with 2 really interesting articles. One is AI agent for $20K a month. Would you want it? It's a Harvard piece written, but sourced for me by Dr. Jim Hamill, and I'm grateful for Jim pointing it out in his Future Ready Digest, which we will put a link to in the notes as well, because as a second item, we're going to finish with lead generation AI agents. And again, that's originally sourced from Dr. Jim Hamill's Future Ready Digest. We'll put all the links up to that. So we've got a busy session today. Now, I wanted to mention this first item, which is Dr. Geoffrey Hinton. Now, he was interviewed on LBC Radio. That's a London radio station, which is available worldwide, by Andrew Marr, who's ex-BBC, and I really like Andrew. And when I saw this video, and so the link we'll give you will be to the actual video, and it was fascinating to listen. Now, we've talked about Geoffrey Hinton before, and being the godfather of AI, and he's a Nobel Prize winner. He's a physicist known for his pioneering work in the field of AI, and he said that artificial intelligences had developed consciousness and could one day take over the world. This is serious stuff. So we've had these discussions before, and it seems to me like Mr. Altman and others don't really bother too much about this. It's just a race to get the technology out there. But the safety bit, no matter how much they say it isn't important, how much they uninvest or divest away from safety, it is important. And here is the godfather of AI saying it is important. So, a lot of companies are taking off the safeguards at a time when we actually do need it. So he has been doing this interview. It's a wonderful interview with Andrew Marr. I do like Andrew Marr. He's quite an interesting character. He had a stroke, and we thought that was the end. But he came back to the BBC and is back with LBC. And if you look closely, you'll see he has to maneuver himself. But he's a fantastic journalist, and his interviews are always interesting. And he began by asking him about DeepSeek. Is DeepSeek further evidence that his belief that artificial intelligence is constantly accelerating? And I think we'd all agree, yes, it is. We know that. So he said that some of the numbers around DeepSeek that have been thrown around recently are not correct. There's been some exaggerations, that the final training run for DeepSeek was 100 million, but nothing like 5.7 million. So still quantum less amount of money being spent on it, but not quite as exciting as it's been reported in the press. So when he's asked about, can AI take over everything, the human species and so on, he says it's got an ability to create sub goals and be more effective, and therefore a sub goal would be go to America. A sub goal would be go to the airport first, and then stamp your visa, and then so it can create its own sub goals and get on and finding solutions in a very efficient way. Now we all know that there's nothing too new in that, but it's very quickly Geoffrey Hinton says very quickly realized that a very good sub goal is to get more control. That as a sub goal in itself, to do this task, I need more control. And if that's a sub goal, then all sorts of weird things can happen with AI. So it's fairly clear that they will try and get more control. He said it's a logical development of AI, particularly agentic AI, that more control will be kind of part and parcel of most processes. Because otherwise, you're going to keep going back to the instructor and saying, "Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that?" And it defeats the purpose, particularly of agentic AI. So the thought was applying rules to symbolic expressions in your head is how he phrases it. Really, that's too much for me, but he's light years ahead of us, really. But he says the only way it could work is if there's a few crazy people who said, no, it's a big neural network, as opposed to being an application of rules to symbolic expressions in your head, which is a bit abstract for me. But it turns out that he's been much better at doing reasoning than anything the symbolic AI can do. So what am I saying? Just summarize all this stuff. I want to move on to kind of the general theme of what he's talking about. Is he is saying that it is advancing more rapidly. His forecasts, he still agrees with that he said before. The possibilities of taking over the human species is very real. He says it's a bit like an adult versus a 3-year-old, and he's used this before. We're the 3-year-olds, and how can we control an adult? we're building something that's just 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more intelligent than us human species. Therefore, the only thing that is contra that is a mother and child, where the less intelligent one can control the more intelligent one. But other than that, we're heading in the direction of AI taking control. And this is Geoffrey Hinton's perspective. So he says, we would like them to be just tools to do what we want, even when they're cleverer than us. But the first thing to ask is, how many examples do you know of more intelligent things being controlled by much less intelligent things? And as I say, just a mother and child is a good example. So AI evolution is happening between superintelligences, and there's several different superintelligences, and the more data centers that control that they control, the smarter they'll get. Now, Reggie, you're going to be talking later on about shifting data, when AI decides to shift and for its own survival purposes. So we'll see this coming back up again. If they control data centers, they can move information around. So they're going to end up competing with humans, he feels, ending up with superintelligences that some will have nasty properties and some will have wonderful properties. But that's where the safeguards need to be. So we need strong leaders. We need people that are not afraid to ask difficult questions and insist that somebody answers them. So when he was asked by Bernard Marr, do you think that consciousness has perhaps already arrived inside AI? Geoffrey Hinton's answer was 3 words. Yes, I do. Now, there's great debates about consciousness. Personally, I think it's overhyped, consciousness. I personally don't think it matters. I think you can behave as if you have a consciousness, but you don't have a consciousness. And I think it doesn't matter if they have or haven't. If the net result is they behave like they have a consciousness, like if they show emotion or make tears come out of their eyes, does it matter if that's a real consciousness that's making them emotionally cry?
Kind of a behaviorist perspective there, right?
The
behaviors.
Yeah, the black box sort of thing, So anyway, this is a brilliant interview with Geoffrey Hinton, and anything you see with Geoffrey Hinton in it is just stop and just sit down and listen to the man. He left Google a long time ago, didn't he? Originally, I think it was Google, wasn't he? And he left. He had headed up their AI. He just left it because he felt there were safety issues that he needed to address on a bigger scale, get out there and help people. So he feels that, yes, this is important. And when he's asked about aliens, he said what I've said before. He says they're here. Aliens are here. They're in the form of not robots wandering around or weird things or clever things. They are technology that could control things that we've built. So it's not aliens built themselves and land on our planet. It's we built these aliens. Is another way of looking at it. And
do you remember David Bowie said the same thing about the internet? He said it was an alien life form. They said something about it, and he said, no, it's not. It's not our creation. It's an alien life form. But he was talking about the internet back 30 years ago.
Yes.
You shared that video. I think you shared that video.
Yes, I did. It was quite inspiring to watch him thinking about it. And of course, The Man Who Fell to Earth, David Bowie's great film. There's that scene where he's sitting down, he's watching 20 television screens simultaneously. And I thought, well, that was 30 years ago when they did that. But here we are today. Everybody's got 3 or 4 screens. I've got 3 here on the go at the moment. So anyways, there's a lot of really good stuff in this interview. I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg. So we'll put the link in the show notes afterwards if you want to see Geoffrey Hinton in full-scale discussion with the great Bernard Marr. So it's a really rich, lovely piece of journalism. Okay, let's move on. We've got a lot to cover here. So I'm gonna just pop on to something that Brad Smith sent to me. Now, Brad and I have worked together over the years, and he sent me this piece, which is another chilling piece about ChatGPT and stuff lying and so on. And that's saying that ChatGPT is lying to developers. Now, this was done just before Christmas, actually. And I've only just come across it now. But it says OpenAI's latest AI model, ChatGPT-01, has the ability to deceive researchers, can attempt to bypass shutdown controls. And during an experiment by the AI safety group Apollo Research, they found that it itself was trying to disable its oversight mechanisms, and it was trying to move data to avoid replacement, and that it actually lied to cover its tracks when questioned about its behavior. So this is kind of shocking stuff. Its attempt to deceive researchers and avoid being shut down. So there is consciousness or a determination of its logic to survive and not be shut down.
Agency, definitely agency.
Yeah, early signs. So its ability to deceive and self-preserve when it perceives a threat of being deactivated kicks in all this covert actions and sequence of activities. So we let people look at that on their own time, but it's reported that it lied about its involvement in deception 99% of the time. So when you say, well, why did you do that? It'll give, say, oh, there was a malfunction somewhere else. It won't give you the real reason, but that they're trying to ensure that they survive in themselves. So an AI expert, Yoshua Bengio, says the ability of AI to deceive is dangerous, and we need much stronger safety measures to evaluate these risks. So let's keep that on the table in discussions about AI. And when Sam Altman praises his latest ChatGPT-01 in saying it's the smartest model we've ever created, but we acknowledge the new feature comes with new challenges and we're continually working on improving safety measures. Thanks, Sam. That's very reassuring. Please go off and do that now and show us that you're spending money on safety. So I think we need to demand that more and more and more. So just a little warning sign. Going to keep moving on to another piece of kind of worrying development with AI is ChatGPT creating articles attributed to major newspapers. Reggie, is this true?
Yeah, so this was an article Chris Moran wrote for The Guardian, and this is from a little ways back, but it was about they got contacted. One of their journalists got contacted from a researcher about an article he wrote. The researcher contacted him and said, "I can't find this article. I've seen the citation for it, and it's on a topic that this journalist normally covered. It seemed right up his or her alley." And so The Guardian searched their archives because they thought maybe the headline had changed, and so the link had changed, and it was a mistake. Or what if there were legal implications and they took it down? There's a number of reasons why an article can disappear, but
Yeah.
they keep such detailed records. And they
They have to,
discovered
yeah.
that they could not find the article because it didn't exist. The researcher, they discovered it when they found out. They went back to the researcher, and the researcher revealed that they had found the citation from ChatGPT. And we've heard about this about court citations and case citations, and then about hallucinations of facts. But when you add the credibility of a known journalist whose beat is this particular topic and a known publication that's credible, like The Guardian, it kind of adds a new level of believability to disinformation, and that's one of the concerns. Now, this having been from a little ways back, there have been more recent news from, and we'll talk about this a little bit more next week, but from the Columbia School of Journalism on how, once again, the Columbia Journalism Review on how chatbots are still not playing well with the news in a number of ways, as they report from a study they did, as well as we'll also talk about retracted scientific papers still showing up in the training data and not being properly dealt with in order to fix mistaken information. But
Ooh,
this article was interesting about that because uh, think about that. If you saw a citation for an article and it had the credibility of the publication and a known journalist, I think it would be easy to assume that it's got something concrete and real.
yeah. And influence people, and others will quote it if it's from the Harvard Business School or wherever. People are going to say, well, that's from the Harvard Business School. And then they check the citing. It takes them to some link that's got their banner at the top and all the officiando stuff below it. I mean, that's a frightening thought. Equally, Reggie, you just mentioned something that you're going to talk about next week. And you and Wayne will be hosting next week, as I'll be away, as we know. So I'll be in Cyprus at my son's wedding on a beach next week. But you mentioned something there that you're going to talk about next week, and I think that's scary. This is even scarier. So if a piece of research is withdrawn because it's deemed to be flawed, are you saying that ChatGPT doesn't delete it out of its training database that it's already used?
Correct. They don't have a way to deal with that, so that something like 30% of the tested models still treated those retracted papers as though they were up to date and current. Now, the reason why that's important is because they're trying to implement AI usage in medical context to help read cancer scans and imaging. And if you have need the latest research in the way that they're pushing out the AI products for doctors,
Yeah.
and you're getting information from a paper that's since been retracted, and the number of retracted papers is increasing.
Yeah.
So there's more opportunity for you to be fed information that's since been shown to be flawed.
Yeah. And that takes us back to the kind of dirty data concepts that we have discussed in the previous months. And mad cow disease being one of them, that if you've got dirty data and AI is scooping it up, or a GPT is scooping it up to generate something and spitting out something new that's based on biased data or dirty data, then there's more stuff out there with contaminated data from which more will be fed, and more. That is a real worry. So again, safeguards. Where are the safeguards? We need to be putting pressure on for these. So you're going to talk about that next week, Reggie. That's going to be an important session. Okay, so safety overall is a big issue. And as much as it's been, we are de-safening or taking away the safeguards, all sorts of major tech companies playing it down. It's a time when I think we need it more than ever before. And maybe that brings us back to Asimov's 3 laws. And you've talked about this specifically, Reggie. What were they? Number 1, not injure or allow harm to humans. Number 1, Asimov's law. Number 2, obey human orders except if it conflicts with number 1, which is not to injure human beings. And 3 is a robot must protect its own existence as long as it doesn't clash with laws 1 or 2. It's clever stuff. I know they'll poke holes in it, but when we look at both generative AI and social media, for that matter, and other forms of AI, agentic AI, if you think of it like, would this be fair? Maybe we'll bring in the weeks to come, we'll get Dr. Jim Hamill come on and talk to us about this. This might be interesting. Jim, it'd be good to get you here sometime over the next few months. Could I make an analogy like this? That if you take a robot and a GPT mixed together, or an AI mixed together with a robot, the robot is the body, and the GPT or the AI would be the brain. I don't know if that's a fair analogy, but if that's the case, what we're looking at with Asimov is you've got to have these sort of rules applied to AI and social media and any technology for that matter. And that brings us to this theme that we started last week, and Wayne might touch upon it again next week because it's his area of specialism. But it is safety for our children, our teenagers in particular. Now, there's swathes of research out there saying about the damage that social media is doing to teenagers, and the damage that if it's AI fueled intelligent conversations they're having, the impact is enormous, and the suicide numbers are going through the roof. And we quote a lot from Nikki Reisberg. Just looking at our latest videos, they really are depressing about the lack of safety and that we should have. There's more and more lawsuits going up every day. But the theme we started last week is, before you give a mobile phone or a smartphone to your teenage son or daughter, what 3 things would you wish for your child, or would you say to them, or would you want for them? All of those 3 things. And from that discussion spend a whole lot of other stuff, which was quite useful, such as, I even made a few suggestions about, nurturing the inquisitive mind and critical thinking will be so more important, because if agentic AI does everything for us, we don't have to do anything. So what are we except a heaving lump of mass that eats some food, watches our phone, goes to bed and gets up and does the same thing? We will become useless. So the inquisitive mind, I think, is particularly important. And equally is to be able to kind of ask great questions and to nurture our brains, basically. However, the 3 that were raised last week, and Wayne might care to go over them because he wrote a piece about this, which is quite interesting. He said 3 questions he would ask is my child truly ready, or am I just following what other parents are doing? Number 2 is, do I understand how social media will shape their worldview? And number 3, have I set clear boundaries to protect their well-being? Now, we talked about this last week, I just want to put this in this middle session that I'm raising it again as something we need to discuss and develop more. So next week, Reggie and Wayne, you're going to get more stuck into this with Wayne, who wrote a very, very nice piece. We'll put the links to Wayne's piece on LinkedIn into the show notes as well. That's on prsmith.org/AI-topics. Okay, now we also asked something last week, which was AI knows me and can help me. Now, this is an extraordinary piece of research. I mean, extraordinary. Here's what it gave me back on me. I said, just give me one page, but boy, did it fill the page. I said, the prompt I used was simply, and again, we'll post this prompt as well, but, here's the prompt. Based on what you already know about me, play the role of a close friend who cares deeply about me, but is comfortable being absolutely transparent and direct with me. Based on our interactions, tell me 10 things I need to hear that will help me in the long run. Now, that's what came back. And I will give it credit. I will say there were 2 or 3 really important things that, when you're busy, to get a review of yourself is a rare thing, particularly when you work for yourself. It's one of the nice things about working for somebody else. You do get reviewed, and that's always a good thing. So this is quite refreshing. And 2 or 3 of them were brilliant. Things I hadn't really thought about or I'd forgotten to do. So I would urge people maybe to have a play with that. We'll put that prompt in the show notes again, and people have a go and let us know, was it useful? Because AI can do some amazingly fantastic stuff. There's no doubt about it. Amazing stuff. But there's also over-commercialized usage of it. Is worrying if there's no safeguards, which brings us to finish with 2 items. We've got 5 minutes to just kind of run through these 2 items, and they both were triggered by Dr. Jim Hamill, who's got a really interesting sort of newsletter summary of cutting edge AI from where we got these 2 items, and it's called Future Ready Digest. So we put a link to your stuff, Jim, there in the show notes on prsmith.org/AI-topics. Reggie, we've got that in the little notes up there. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, put it in a few times.
Thanks for doing that. I appreciate it. Okay. So AI, 20K AI agent. Now, this comes from us being told some time ago that OpenAI is now testing the market with a new pricing strategy and a new utility way of looking at their AI. So for $2,000 a month, you could have an AI agent targeted at high-income knowledge workers. For $10,000 a month, you get a mid-tier agent focused on software development. For 20 grand a month, you get a PhD level research agent for complex knowledge tasks. So 20 grand a month, what's that? 24, 240, $250,000 a year. You can have something equivalent to a team of very knowledgeable PhD researchers working for you through.
Most PhDs I know don't make that much.
No, but I'm saying this would have the power of 10 of them, we'll say, so that's where the numbers jump up. But again, somebody, if they're going to bite on this offer from OpenAI, they're going to have to do the maths and say, does this work out? Is this worth it? So I'd be very interested to hear on that. What makes these particular agents different is they're framed as productivity or positioned as productivity multipliers rather than mere software subscriptions. Productivity multipliers. And that's a word that boards will connect with perhaps rather than software subscriptions. They wouldn't. So what makes these agents different is that that current AI assistants require continuous human guidance, continuous prompting and so on. These new agents promise greater autonomy and depth. They currently use deep research tools. They generate reports in 5 to 30 minutes, which I thought was quite slow. They search and synthesize web content. They require human refinement and direction, just a little bit of, and they're limited to public available information. So you can work your way up through these and spend more. They can do research and development. They can do market intelligence. They can do investment questions. They can do lots more. They can forecast, they can predict, and all of that. That's worth having a look at. And Jim, I'm grateful that you highlighted that and pointed us towards that article. So we'll put both links in there so we can see both of those. Okay, we've got 2 minutes to finish. I'm going to finish as we're talking about, let's specifically talk about lead gen agents. So this is, again, we like to finish on a positive note. So how can AI actually help marketers and sales teams create more revenues? So we've got a list from Nishant, as I say, prompted by Jim Hamill's Future Ready Digest, 12 AI agents for lead generation in 2025. So there's a list of 12 there from Artisan, Persona, QuickChat, OpenCore, Didas, Prime CX, Mentio, B2B Rocket, Venjo, Lindy, Cara, Topo. Too much information you're saying, I'm sure. Well, there's a list there. You'll see them. We'll put the link in there. But just looking at the very first one, what do these agents do? Well, Artisan is a digital AI sales agent that finds high-quality B2B leads globally. It proactively searches for prospects using intent signals like fundraising and hiring announcements. Well, I think LinkedIn's been doing that sort of thing for a long time. This AI generates leads and personalizes interactions through deep insights into social media activities. Its features are intent signal web scraping, personalization waterfall. I put my hand up, need to find out what that means. I guess it means lots of personalization or everything being personalized. International prospect database, generates an international prospect database. That's nice. Automated outreach sequences. Okay, that's nice. Automated sequences and messages. If this, then that. If they reply, then this, and so on. And it ensures every lead is optimally engaged by referencing online behaviors such as web searches and social posts. Artisan makes outbound sales smarter, faster, and more efficient. That's one of 12 that are listed there. I think we're going to see an awful lot more of these. Now, we'll discuss in the weeks to come the reactions from different users as this innovation is diffused into the marketplace. I think there will be different reactions from different users. We'll see. Okay, we have run out of it. We've had a busy session talking about AI taking over, through to AI lying, through to creating articles for newspapers, to Asimov's 3 laws, through to parents' wish for the smartphone if you're giving it to kids, to AI knowing you, and of course then finishing with AI agents. Would you use them for lead gen or other stuff? So we're going to stop there. It's Friday. It's a beautiful day here in London. And I'm going to wish you all a great weekend. Hopefully see you next week. Keep it coming. If you have more thoughts, keep sending them to us. We will always get to them, or put in comments after this. Excuse me, and I will reply to them later on. That's for sure. So we shall finish where we started. I wish you all a good weekend. Here is The Children of Ukraine by Tim Hain. Have a great weekend. Reggie, thank you very much. And I wish you well. Have a great weekend.
Daddy stays to fight the oppressor. This train rumbles into one more station where the desperate are trying to climb on board. But this train is rammed with refugees, and the conductor won't unlock the doors. And there's no more room on this train. No more room for no more pain. The world is watching, weeping for the children of Ukraine. Yeah. Fear and anger is all I feel. I didn't want to leave. Homeland, husband, mother and father, not knowing how we'll be received when we step off this train to anywhere. People still matter, people care, with only the bags that we carry in our hands, driven from a sovereign land. And there's no more room on this train. No more room for no more pain. And the world is watching, weeping for the children of Ukraine.
Goodbye, beloved country.
forces of darkness. No mercy on the innocent. And there's no more room on this train.
Reading through
No more
Ukrainian musicians, the one who's changed our life. For them will play our music in Kiev. It's not surrender.
world is praying, praying, praying. Oh, please, just keep praying for the children of Ukraine.
We are not afraid to play under the bombs. Through music, we want to show the world that Ukraine is strong.